Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Razak at CMTrading. Today is November 30th, 2015, last day of the month of November and the beginning of the week, Monday morning, and it's the first Monday after Thanksgiving. So Monday morning, this Monday is historically known as Cyber Monday. Many deals online for post-Thanksgiving shopping. The day after Thanksgiving, which was last Thursday, is historically called and considered one of the biggest retail sale days of the year for the United States. Now, the reason that is so pertinent to everybody across the world is that the economy in the United States, as you know, is really run by the consumer consumption of mostly major ticket items like cars, washing machines, refrigerators, that kind of stuff. But as such, you know, the retail market has its own major aspect, including apparel, jewelry, etc., fashion, and all that stuff. So as the U.S. is consumed with materialism, it actually helps the economies around the world. So it does affect everybody around the world, and that's why I'm keeping a sharp eye to see how that is actually coming about. On a personal level, if you do want to go shopping, today would be a good day to go shopping. It's Cyber Monday. You'll see a lot of deals. I don't know if that trickles down in South Africa or whatever respective country you come from, but ultimately, if you can get shipped to somebody that you know, it might be a good idea to look into. Looking at the economic calendar today, just a couple of things to go into. Just one number coming out for the Japanese yen in the middle of the evening at 3 a.m. But that's, you know, it's more of an exotic pair, and it's a little bit harder to trade because it is coming off at quite a peculiar time for some of the guys that are trading. Looking at some of the markets, it has been quite interesting what's been going on. This is a picture of the Euro USD, and as you can see here, we've been really breaking this lower and lower and lower, and we've just been trickling down. Every time we seem to be getting to some sort of I wouldn't say a rally, but every time we've been trying to break a little bit higher, this 110 level. Since we hit 110, we've been breaking lower to 105. We've dipped below 106, which is almost a new low. So if we look at the weekly chart, okay, a 104 was the all-time low, but we're trickling down here, and we don't, we don't look like we're bouncing anytime soon, and this is a little bit concerning or disconcerting for, the euro. I mean, historically speaking, this is how far down we've been, and one of the most far that we've been since 2002, 2001. So this is really a historic point that we're at here, and it really needs to be addressed and looked into. And so the question is, are we going to continue going down? Are we going to continue breaking this 103? I'd keep a sharp eye on it because we're not really just breaking off on one go, okay? Because if you look at some of the others, there have been major sell-offs, as you can see here, but those sell-offs are getting a little bit smaller. So I'm a little bit inclined to say we may bounce over here. We're kind of forming a wedge formation here. So we could either go up, and there could be a breakout on the upside or the downside, but I would expect something to be severe. Because you get to a certain point where there's no more sellers, and then things kind of bounce just for the case of bouncing, not because the thing is particularly strong. So that's on one end, the euro breaking down lower. The other end, it seems like a very similar graph, is the gold. Gold broke down below 166, 1066 since we had it, broke all of our support lines or semi-support lines, secondary support lines, primary support lines, and now we're at 1055. I still think we're going to dip below 1,000. Is it going to happen today, tomorrow? Who knows? And the question is where are you going to be when that does happen, and are we going to be able to maintain a position as long as that does happen? And as you can see, it has a little bit more momentum on the downside than the Euro USD. And not to say that the Euro USD can't play catch up, but but this is clearly showing us that it's a lot weaker than the Euro USD. So my target is still below 1,000 before the summer. between now and then. I think we're going to dip below 1,000. The market's a little bit reluctant to make the gold so weak because it is the currency that backs up economies around internationally. So credit is gauged on the amount of gold a country has in deposit. So yeah, I'm not so sure that it's going to go back down to 300, okay, like it did, back in the 2004, 2005, and you look at it and you say, wow, like there was an extreme rally between 2007, I would say, to 2011, excuse me, and that was major. That was mostly because of the equities market being so weak. But now that the economies are somewhat stable and people live with the uncertainty of what's going on in the world and have accepted it, it seems that they're brushing off aside what's going on politically internationally, and they're just focusing on the equity markets, which are doing well. So looking at the equity markets, the Dow Jones is trading at 17,769. Just realize that this future will expire this month. We're going to open up a March contract for the Dow in the middle of the month sometime. You should get an email with the expirations, exactly when that happens. But as you can see, we're at the top of the range. Now, the question is historically we rally between now and Christmas, and we have to keep an eye to see if that rally continues. So I keep a sharp eye on this to see if it does. Looking at oil here, oil is trickling down back to $41. It's holding this line at $43, and it's holding this line at $40. And I think we're going to be in this area for quite a while. I mean, I was looking at some airline tickets online just to see how much they've been costing, and some of the fares are just ridiculously low considering where we're going. So, and you have to keep in mind that airlines are buying 6 months in advance, and if they're buying 6 months in advance and they're giving such good prices for airline tickets, it comes to imply that they don't expect the prices to jump anytime soon. Of course, that could always change on a dime based on war or whatever. But status quo, if everything stays as status quo, we shouldn't see the oil jump anytime soon. Production is still outweighing consumption internationally, so that's something to keep an eye on. This is Fred Razak at CM Trading. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.